Okay.
But thank you all for being here today. What we wanted to do was to go over the plans for the new archaeology facility that we're looking towards. As as you all know, we had the fire back in April that pretty much
Ticket, but
rendered
Well,
the buildings. I'm going to mute you, Mark. There that rendered the buildings useless for our work. And what we're up to now is you've been looking for a space, first interim space to do everything we need. And I got Liz right beside me. She's been working on working between about 4 different buildings, and we'll talk a little bit about that. You know, how we've been making that work with the staff. But looking for a space that we can finally create a permanent space for us to be as a department, both with the lab but also with offices. And one of the biggest needs we have for the lab space is, you know, both for volunteers, for expedition members, for you know, processing all of the artifacts that we have, but given our role as a you know a public facing department, what we wanted to do is have this be in a space where we could have a lot of community engagement, both with visitors, with local community, and then also have it be accessible. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and launch in. We've got a PowerPoint that we've created, and I'm going to toggle between that and the some of the GIS maps, because you know I can't resist going to the GIS maps here. So I will go ahead and share screens here. And let's see. So hide meeting controls and go to the slideshow here. And not to give too much away, but you all have probably seen all the story maps. Where we're landing with this is the old Montpelier store, and I'll get into the history of the Montpelier store in a little bit. But where we've been over the past several months is after the fire at the archaeology office, which really is just I can't even look at this picture without just feeling the heartbreak. What we lost was a space where, you know, so many of y'all have spent time, and it's, you know, there's the sense of loss that we have for all the community memories that we have in this space, but it's also there's the immediate of, you know, we're still doing these programs, and where do we do how do we engage with people on these programs? And so what we've been doing, like some of the interim solutions that we've been doing, you can see in this GIS map. And let me switch between, let's see, go to the GIS here. There we go. So on here, what you can see is the map here of Montpelier. Here's the visitor center right here. There's the visitor center. The main house is right here, just to get you oriented. That's the wrong main house. That's the 18th century main house. That's the 1797 main house. Where is the main house? Here's what it looks like today. Not quite. There it is. Well, that's close enough. It's 1899. But the old archaeology lab is down the hill from there. So visitors would walk down the old DuPont Road down to the archaeology lab. And of course, these two buildings are no longer usable now because of the fire. There's, in some cases with the office, I'm looking right across from it here in Lewis Hall, the office has enough structural damage where it's absolutely not structurally safe. The floors are completely destroyed. And then with the archaeology lab itself, there's enough damage to the roof, and with the soot damage and the heat damage, that basically a lot of the fabric of that building melted. So what Liz has set up is a temporary archaeology lab across the stream, which is the old DuPont school building, which today is Gupton Library. And Gupton Library is a space that it isn't that big, but it's enough to you know, run the lab programs. This is a program that we had about 2 weeks ago, one of the high school programs with Liz and Lizzie working with participants in this space. The only thing about this space is it's a residential space for the Center for the Constitution. So we're imposing on their space that they need for regular programs. And this is something that is not long-term, is going to be something that can continue to happen. Probably in the fall, it's going to be a little tight in there. And so what we've been doing is using Lewis Hall for some of our office space. In fact, in the room right here, you can see it live in the camera here. You don't even need this picture. There's all the boxes from the lab, and Liz and Lizzie are always going back and forth getting these boxes because, as you know, one of the things about the lab is we had a lot of shelving in there because we got a lot of boxes that are in transition, you know, from artifacts going from being washed to being boxed to being ready to be cataloged to photographed. There's a whole series of all the sticky notes on there that shows what sequence it's in. And then combined with that, all the water screening is taking place up on the deck still. So the deck is still intact there, but the lab is closed off because the lab is basically unsafe to go into unless you have a respirator mask because of all the soot that's in there. And so what Lizzie spent a good part of this summer doing is using these little creatures, the power washers, to power wash off all the equipment that came out of the lab and make it so that we can have a functioning space for doing the water screening, the flotation, and then the power washing of materials. And once this stuff is water screened, of course, you know, since we're dealing with 95-degree temperatures and 100% humidity, nothing dries outside. So all this stuff has had to go back over to the schooling barn that we used as an interim facility when the fire happened to dry out all of the artifact bags that have been wet with the firefighters putting out the fire. I mean, you know, again, we got to give full credence to the Orange County Fire Department. Without the Orange County Fire Department, we wouldn't have anything to work with at all. I don't even know how the building didn't. I think if that fire had gone for another 5 minutes, given how hot everything was, it would have combusted. And the bravery of those folks going into that heat to put out that fire, I mean, they saved, you know, some critical resources, artifacts, especially. So, but right now this building is used for drying out samples, and you can't really see it here, but there's all these swallows. There's like about, I don't know, how many swallows are in there, Lizzie?
15 last days. I got 4 nests that hatched.
Yeah, so we are not encouraging the swallows to hatch. This is Mother Nature, but of course with swallows come, you can imagine, bird poop. So, and it's not a great, it sounds funny until you're in it and it smells like a rookery. It's horrible. So what we're doing is we're existing between these 4 spaces right now, and obviously it's not sustainable. Any word on this, Liz?
Yeah, I just agree with everything Matt said. It's been pretty difficult to be going between several different buildings. And so we're really looking forward to a new solution.
And that solution is something we all started looking at, you know, right after the fire, is looking to see what buildings could be reutilized. And one of the goals we had was, you know, we don't have the resources to build a new building. And then also, given that we have a property with over 100 buildings, and we have, you know, with our department, we've had so many connections with former DuPont workers, with neighbors who've told stories about various parts of the property. One building that really came to mind was the old company store, the old Montpelier Supply Company, over on Route 20. And this has had various bits of history, from being originally the DuPont era store for the community, all the way up to being the visitor center. But one thing that was especially attractive about this building was the layout of the building and its accessibility on Route 20. And for this, I'll jump back over to this PowerPoint here. And in this, what you've got with the building is this building has just had such a huge part of the history for the DuPont era. From 1911 through 1983, it was the Montpelier Supply Company store. And when it was the supply company store, it served the needs mostly of DuPont workers. And so there's there's a lot of folks that have memories. I I've got one account I'm going to read from the Anglin family. There's Henry Anglin, Madeline Anglin, Barbara White, and Iris Ford, who are all members of the MDC board, but also grandchildren of Mitchell Jackson, who is the head builder for the DuPonts. They wrote this reminiscence, and I'll go ahead and read it. This testimonial reads, "Our mothers, the Jackson sisters, told us many stories about growing up in the shadow of Montpelier in the early 20th century. One story resonates. Our grandmother in need of sugar, flour, and other essentials would send her daughters on foot 2 miles to the Montpelier Supply Company. Across from the train station and combined post office, lifelines of the segregated Black and white communities that met there to fulfill the integrated needs of food and fellowship. Now, a century later, James Madison's Montpelier Archaeology Department, with its artifacts and oral histories, lifelines of the descendant community, intends to revive the eminence of the country store as the center of the community by unearthing and preserving rich stories that did not stop with our mothers. The Montpelier Supply Company and filling station hold many memories for our generation as well. When we were old enough, we continued the legacy, driving there to pick up bread and milk, fill up the Bonneville, treat ourselves to the occasional horehound candy kept in the big barrel near the door. And we got to get some more horehound candy for the space when we move back in there. So I think Steve is on that. There's no better place than the old Montpelier supply store and environs to store and share the sugar, flour, and other essentials of the past. And no better place to connect Montpelier's past to the global descendant community. And this is one thing that we're really excited about, with this space, is it's had a long history of being a community center, and it's right on Route 20. And I'll talk about its communications in between then. But I don't know, Leroy and do you all have any stories to relate, or you'd want to come back with, Dwight? Or
yeah, because Bobby sent us.
oh, come on over here, Leroy. The microphone's right here, and I'll stop sharing screens for it right now. So this is Leroy Johnson, whose mom was Sarah Johnson.
Well, what I'm gonna say that we lived down the track from the store for we walk in about 5 minutes. So most times she give us, we was poor anyhow, we had give us 10 cents. We would buy a bag of peanuts and a soda, hold the soda, peanuts and the soda and drink it. In the meantime, coming up the road, we pick up pop balls. They give you 2 cents a piece for them. That was a little extra too. But Mr. Jennings, sometimes he's do y'all buy these sodas? Yeah, it don't make no difference. You're paying 2 cents. So we would cash them into and buy stuff and go ahead and get 50 cents for bologna, which was a big stack for 50 cents, thick bologna, and that would last us, off and on through the week. But then another thing I'm gonna say, everybody at most times got off at 5 o'clock. His dad had a crew of men, they come out there, we'd be out there. So they would say, "Well, was want anything?" No, but we know what time to get there to get it. So that was a history of it for me. It was a good place to be, good place to work and everything, but that store was number one for us, getting stuff close. I think I'd round the up.
Thank you, Leroy. Appreciate it. And yeah, a lot of that is what we're excited about with the Montpelier store, that the building is, it's always been a community center that's been welcoming. And so with the community having such a long history with that, there's a chance to make what we're doing with our community-based work that much more accessible. And so what we're looking to do is, with moving to the old store, actually Steve came up with this acronym, Community Archaeology Lab at Montpelier with CALM. What we're looking to do is really lean into, one, the DuPont heritage of the store, and the DuPont heritage that is at Montpelier here and is so alive with the buildings and the community and the memories that are all around. And this is, so much part of the descendant community as well. But also to lean into the community focused work that we're doing as an organization. You know, part of this community focus comes from you all as expedition members. So there's many ways to define that community, but then also look to engage with the local community in ways that just haven't been possible over the past 20 years or more. When the trust came in, there was you know, being a rural area, there was more of an emphasis on, you know, bringing in museum professionals to work at Montpelier. And what we want to do is take the advice of the descendant community, which is, you know, provide ways and training for local high school students, like in GIS and also in archaeology, and look for funding, ways to fund high school students to work with us in the department. Because there's, you know, for being, you know, the length of time I've been here is, you know, it's really clear that the opportunity to do, say, a field school for the summer or to volunteer for the year isn't really available to a lot of high school students who need to earn money. But if you're able to combine the learning process with a summer job, what you have the opportunity to do is to expand the horizons of students in the, you know, within the home space history that we've got right here. So we're really excited about the opportunity. And one of the things that goes with this is the space itself. So I'm going to go back to the share screen right here and go back to the my PowerPoint. Let's see. There it goes. And for the store itself, you know, from the 80s up until about 2003, this was the gift shop. And there's some folks that never even knew this. One of the staff wrote me this morning and said, I had no idea that the old, what is called the Esso building today, was the gift shop for over 20 years. And my kids remember getting stick candy here. So that's my little bit of oral history memory from this space. They called it the stick candy shop. But after 2003, when the visitor center was being ready to be built, the focus for the gift shop was moved up to the area where the present day visitor center is. And after that time, it became administrative offices from about 2006 through 2012. And at some point during the gift shop's history, the Esso sign was hung in front of it. And Dwight, I don't know if you know about anything about that history.
That was,
Oh, Dwight, come on over here for the microphone. And Dwight Southard is Dwight Southard worked for Miss Scott, but he lives just down the road, literally adjacent to Montpelier. But what do you know about the history of the Esso sign?
the Esso sign was put up right after Ms. Scott left the estate to the National Trust. But the store itself was always a Texaco. It had pumps right under the sign. And then in the back, they had American gas, which was used in lawnmowers and her personal cars and the cars that we took trips in. And that was the difference between that. Now, the National Trust put the Esso sign up there. And I don't know where the Texaco sign went to, but that's when that was changed in, I think in 1984, 85, I believe.
Yeah, in the excavations we're doing, we just found a little Texaco tag, which blew us away, because I know Henry and Madeline Anglin were talking about whether it was the Esso or the or the Texaco station, and then the Texaco is mentioned, and then we found that little tag. So it'd be amazing to find where the Texaco sign went, but it's probably long gone after Miss Scott left.
I don't know why why that sign left. It never did make sense. But the Esso station was up at Somerset Summer Store. That was
Okay.
Esso up there.
All right.
And then later on, that was changed to Texaco.
Ah, interesting. So we got the competitors here.
Right.
The SO
I
sign,
think
that's not
that's
right.
a Esso sign. It used to be up at Somerset years ago.
All right. And of course, that store is gone today.
Right.
Yeah, with that truck
Right.
accident.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Well, thank you, Dwight. A little bit of oral history there. So appreciate it. But yeah, so today everybody calls the building the Esso building. So that's where, coming up with a name for this, we're gonna have to shift gears. But when the building became administrative offices, that's when there were partitions put in for the communications department. We're gonna be as part of the renovations, we're gonna be removing these partitions here that were put up around 2008, and then bringing it back to the space that was, the store, and really lean in on that history. Obviously gonna, keep this beautiful tin ceiling, keep the windows, keep all the shelving. And it would be amazing, if there are some like the old cash register and things like that we'd like to integrate into the space. It's gonna be an archaeology lab, but also that community aspect of being a store is one that we're going to want to celebrate. And it kind of goes with, what we do with the archaeology lab. We have a lot of folks that, as volunteers. We have a couple of volunteers that are in the audience today, who live in the area and come out and spend the day with us. We'd also like to encourage people just to drop in and see what the latest finds are. But being a Route 20, it'll make it a lot more easy for that to happen. Now, I'll get into that in a second and how this relates to some of the DuPont heritage along Route 20. But in addition to the first floor space, which will be the main lab space, this is about the size of the double wide that we've been in for the past 16 years. What we're also going to do is we're going to use the upstairs was renovated into offices back in 2008 as well. So this is very different than how it looked when it was the store. But these offices are going to be really well suited for not only our staff, but then also for doing internships like with GIS, that sort of thing. And one of the aspects of this space upstairs is it's matched by a full basement space, which is this photo over to the right here, a full basement space that we're going to be able to use for storage. And I have this picture of Chris here lifting a box, not just to be silly, but also to show what our office space in the old office looked like. I mean, we weren't worried about a fire. What we were worried about was an earthquake and all these shelves overhead, everything piled above us, collapsing on top of us. So with having a storage space in the basement, it's going to allow for a lot more office space in that upper part. And also, Chris was super excited about the organization potential, because there's not only the main room that's down here, but off to the right, there's a door that would be an excellent space for organizing field equipment. But then there's a bulkhead entrance that I think the trust put that bulkhead entrance in. I'm not sure. There's a bulkhead entrance into the basement under the store that would allow us to really be able to bring things in quite easily. So the other part of this building is that it really has the potential to serve as the gateway for the post-Madison experience. And what I'm referring to with that is if you go back to the map here, give me a second here. This gets tricky with the slideshows. But when you look at the map right here, in terms of what's in this area, here's the Montpelier store right here. Right across the road is the train depot, the train station that's restored as in its 1911 segregation era appearance. And we've got exhibits in this space. And then down the road, what you've got a set of trails that connect, and the trailhead being right across from the train station, trails that connect over to the Gilmore farm and cabin. And when you look at this in an aerial shot, this is a 3D version of this space. Looking from the Gilmore cabin down this way, you can see the train station is just off of, yeah, there's the train station right here. And then the Montpelier store is right here. So you get this grouping of historic resources, buildings, interpretive paths that the Montpelier store, the Calm, would be able to serve as kind of headwaters for getting people to know what's out in this area. And then being an archaeology facility, hopefully there'd be more people that want to visit that and then learn more about all of these spaces. And so, you know, with this, what we hope to do is, you know, to have exhibits in this front space. So, you know, even if folks came after hours, we could talk about, you know, the latest work that's happening with memorialization at the burial ground. We'd be able to have public notices there, be able to, you know, and also be able to have people come in and see what some of the latest finds are. And then what we've got around this space, in addition, is there's plenty of parking in this area. So, you know, there'd be no shortage of parking. But then also there's this whole field complex where, you know, the future, you know, there's all kinds of potential with kind of outdoor events we'll be able to do. There's just a lot of flexibility that would be built into this space and to do kind of outdoor events that we haven't even imagined yet. So we're pretty excited about the possibilities of that. Anybody have anything to add on that one? Oh yeah, there's all of the Civil War encampments that connect, you know, the train station over to the Gilmore.
Right? And that'll get you onto JPA.
And that's all the history, you know, that, you know, really tells the story of the legacy of the Constitution. And while it's something we do talk about in the main part of the property here, you know, what people want to be able to see is, you know, the actual sites, and to have this space staffed would be really, I think it would make it a lot more attractive for visitors. And then with that, you know, one of the things we're also excited about is just having the having this building on Route 20. It's going to be visible to the local community, and you know the kind of activities that we've done either in the lab space or in the field, like with community days with doing artifact washing. We'd be able to do this in a space where the community would have a lot easier access to, and then literally by just driving by, what we want to do is we want to remove the Esso sign. We'll have to talk to see if there are anybody that has an Esso station that would like this. But what we'd want to do is put either the Texaco sign back or do some rendering of the Calm logo as the Community Archaeology Lab, and have people start to recognize this as a space that's accessible that they can visit. And then it just makes it a lot more familiar. I think with the local community, there's kind of a disconnect between Montpelier and, you know, any of the historic fabric that you can't see from the road. I mean, when you go drive by, the front gate looks like it's a gate for a gated community. It doesn't look like a historic property whatsoever. And that's where, you know, having this space that's a little more welcoming to the local community, I think we're hoping would drive some more community access to Montpelier. So one of the other things we're looking to do, like I mentioned, is to begin to look for specific funds for hiring high school students to do archaeology and GIS internships. And obviously, you know, probably more of the GIS is future employment opportunities. But, you know, while we're not able to provide GIS training, you know, that's certified, that's at a college level, by providing students with employment opportunities that they can put on their resume, that's, you know, that has a lot of value for obtaining jobs and obtaining experience and networking. And then we'd also like to have this flow over into other departments here at Montpelier, to have Montpelier be a place that people feel, you know, that there is opportunities for employment. I know that there's always a struggle with hiring local community members because there's a bit of this disconnect that's there. So and then, you know, so that's kind of in a nutshell what we're looking at with Calm, and would want to open up the floor to any questions, or you know, Dwight or Leroy, do you have anything else to add with all this?
Well, y'all might have to start selling gas and selling food.
Yeah, Dwight said we need to start selling gas and food. I think food is a possibility. Gas is absolutely out. So I don't even know if the tanks are still there. Yeah, they're about 40 years old at this point. No, 50 years old at this point. That's a little terrifying. So I think the EPA would have something to say about that. So
that's another hose to fight.
That is another hose to fight, absolutely. So pun intended, but yeah, that is one thing we thought about is like, you know, selling some of our bling, like our newly minted water bottles here. So don't look too close. Some of the older might be coming for the alumni expedition, might be getting that as a gift. So, but yeah, there's the possibilities abound. But does anybody have any questions about Calm and some of our plans that we get? I'll do it. Yeah.
What's the time frame?
Let me stop sharing screens here. Yeah, Bill was asking what's the time frame. We're looking to start the work on this. The curatorial department is using the old store for storage, and they're moving their items out. And then we're hoping that by the early fall, we'll start with the demolition of the partitions. But a lot of it depends on funding that we have. There's been a number of folks that have given donations, and Cindy Roche has made a 2-for-1 match. So we've got enough money now to start the work on the first floor. But so we're going to be starting that work immediately. The second floor, the ceiling needs to be replaced because the air conditioner unit in the upstairs had an insufficient drip pan, we'll just put it that way, and it ruined the ceiling up there. And then we also want to work on the lower space and make sure that the walls are sealed and that it's cleaned up and the floor is sealed so that can be used for storage. But the end goal, to answer your question directly, Bill, is that we're hoping that we'd have the lab functioning by the spring or the summer of 2025. So by next season would be the ideal. And with that would also be building a water screen deck on the back side. Yeah, Liz is giving a thumbs up on that. Building a water screen deck on the back side, because, you know, having the deck connected to the lab is just absolutely essential. Having to haul samples from one part of the property to the other just really cuts down on efficiency and the work that we're doing. So, Carolyn, I see you have your hand up.
Now, I was wondering about accessibility. I see there are steps on the front. Are there plans for a ramp?
Yeah, that's the other part of that. The water screening deck is to have that deck have a ramp that goes to grade, and we want to make this ADA accessible. Like the front steps are basically going to be, you know, just the display front, but all the accessibility is going to go to the back. And fortunately, what we have at the at Calm, the future Calm, is there's a full set of restrooms that are handicapped accessible from the days of being a visitor center. So we've got all the facilities we need to make it fully accessible. And this is something that, you know, has been important in all of our expeditions that we do, is to, you know, make sure there is accessibility. So we're on that, Carolyn. Thank you. Oh, and then the comments. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, consider collecting stories about the store for visitors to read and enjoy. Yeah, that's one part that we're really excited about with the work, is that we want to start collecting oral histories when we do the opening of the of Calm. We want to have an oral history workshop / party where we collect stories about people's memories about the store, and then use those to, you know, figure out what sort of exhibits we want to design, you know, how to lean in on that DuPont era heritage. And then also it turns out that there are about 50 boxes of records in the archives that Hillary is going to start helping us to scan and digitize, that have everything from ledger books. So might have, you know, some of your parents' purchases that are recorded in that. So I'm looking over at Dwight and Mr. Johnson there. So never know what's in there. So yeah, and Mark.
Well, hey Matt. So first off, I apologize. I can't get my camera to work for whatever reason, but I wanted to chime in. So just as a quick introduction to everybody else, I am the architect for the Historic Sites Department of the National Trust, and Matt has been keeping me updated on this process from from the archaeology lab burning down to where we are now. And I just want to step in and applaud Matt and the whole staff for this vision. I know that, losing the archaeology lab was difficult to see, and probably, no more so for anybody, beyond Matt himself. Matt, how long have you worked in that building?
Just shy of 25 years. So
so I know that
starting
was
to get historic.
So not only is that a wound for the site, but that's a wound for Matt. And as difficult as that is, this vision that's coming out of it, I've said it to Matt multiple times, but this is the embodiment of lemonade out of lemons. And Matt and staff, this vision for changing, to adapt the Esso building into a reused and reinvigorated space, not just for him and his staff, but for the community, is a phenomenal vision. And so, Matt, I just want to applaud you. I know you and I have lots more to talk about with this, and so not only do you have the trust support in this, we'll be talking about how the trust can help fund this process as well. But again, just wanted to step in and again, thank you and everybody else that's been part of this. The bedrock, or one of the bedrocks of preservation, is adaptive reuse. And we have a building, and I was, I had the pleasure of joining Matt on a walkthrough of this building. I don't know, what was 6 weeks ago or so, just earlier this summer, and just the vision, the thought process of how we could reuse this space, and not just an isolated building, but have this be another gateway to Montpelier as a whole, is just really forward thinking. So again, appreciate that, Matt. You and I will certainly be talking more, but just wanted to chime in on that.
Oh, thank you, Mark. That means so much. And as the owner of the property, that is important to get an endorsement. The National Trust for Historic Preservation owns the property, so you're the owner there. Thank you, Mark. And yeah, one thing that definitely we've always looked at Montpelier is that change is good. And this represented an opportunity for change that we just couldn't pass up. And it also fit in with our larger department goals of being a community-oriented research department. And that's something that has really been inspired by all of you all. The years and years, decades of work that you all have done with us on expeditions. Both as descendants and also as community members and also as supporters. All of that. And what's been beautiful about that is there are many expeditions where we've had in a single unit staff, descendants, and expedition members. And all of you all have gotten to know each other in a way that, makes this, has inspired this. So it's, just like anything else, these ideas, they come from volunteers in the lab talking with us and thinking about different ideas. It's a team-based idea that's really exciting. And yeah, Denise, you had a really good question. Since the lab will no longer be behind the gate, are there plans for additional security? And yeah, we're going to have a full security system in the lab. And actually, in many ways, ironically, I feel like with a full security system, like police or fire department response will be about twice as fast being on Route 20, because the police vehicles can go like 80 miles an hour up 20 and be, I used to be able to get from the gate to the high school in about 5 minutes when I had to pick up the kids. They could probably do that in 2 minutes. So it's, so yeah, we are considering that. And then, Mark, you asked about what's the projected budget as to what it will all cost. The baseline getting in the door with the deck is around 200,000, just north of 200,000 without contingencies. And then, okay, yeah. And Pandora, thank you for the clapping there. So, but yeah, well, one thing, are there any other questions or comments? Because we did one more thing we wanted to talk about, which is this fall. So we are still doing programs. Don't worry. Many of y'all have come on programs already for this summer, but and one in the spring with the descendant gathering we had at the beginning of the season. But we are going to be doing about 4 or 5 more programs this fall, and I've got those listed here. Yeah, so we've got four programs that 3 of which are still taking folks on. We've got the alumni program, which is September 15th through the 21st. And we're doing 2 of these. We're experimenting with the last 2 days of the alumni program. We're offering a 2-day Constitution Day program where it'll be a combination of excavations, and we're doing surveys up at the site for several enslaved families, homes of enslaved families that we found up by the temple beside the old horse graves. There's a whole set of homes that were up in there dating to the 1820s. And then on Saturday, we're going to be doing a walk in the East Woods and then doing guided tours and taking part in some of the Constitution Day festivities that are happening here at Montpelier. And then on we've got the early October program that we're going to be doing. We still have spaces on that. And then on the 3rd and 4th, we're inviting descendants and local community members to take part in essentially a day of, you know, what is memorialization? What is the archaeology of memorialization look like after a full season of excavations? And we're going to be talking about, you know, the memorial site and what we found there, and then also be doing a reburial of some of the objects that we found, because we want to place back some of the sacred objects that we found that's associated not with any graves, but the burial ground as a whole, and then also do a hearth cooking program on that Friday. And so some of you all have already signed up for that, and we're looking to seeing you all out there, especially the Mannings. I know you all are ready to help with the cooking on that. And then the October 13th through the 18th, that one's full. And then the other program is Liz's equestrian program. And I'll let Liz talk about that. And that's October 30th through November 2nd. And what happens on November 2nd, Liz? What is that?
November 2nd is the annual Montpelier Hunt Races. And we have a lot in store for the equestrian program. We have a few days ahead of the Montpelier Hunt Races. We're going to have packed filled with tours of some of the Montpelier equestrian landscape. We're going to have presentations with leading expert Sarah Rivers Cofield, who is an expert on colonial horse hardware. And I'm going to talk about the horse hardware we find at Montpelier. We're going to do some metal detecting demonstrations. We have a hat making activity to get you ready for the hunt races. And we're going to have just like a lot of really great conversations about the Montpelier equestrian history, which is so rich and stems back to the enslaved horsemen who cared for the horses under the Madison occupation of Montpelier, all the way up through the DuPont era, where there is just this incredible rich history of horsemanship and expertise at Montpelier. So we're really looking forward to this program, and I'd love to see more of you there. I know Vivian signed up, so I can't wait to see you. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, speaking of expertise, I heard Dwight and Leroy talking in the back. Do you all know anybody in this picture?
No.
No. Oh, you want to come up and point them out? So we have the local expertise here on this photo. This would be, and I'll use the mouse. I don't know. You can see Dwight's here on the camera.
All right, the person standing on the far right there is Otis Southern. And
so this gentleman right here with the arrow?
right.
Okay.
That's Otis Southern. And of course, in the middle is Miss Scott. Or should I say Mama?
Mama. Okay. Is that what you all call Miss Scott?
Yeah, not in front of her, but
we'll keep that quiet.
and the next guy that's holding the horse is Lester Southern. He was my uncle, Dad's brother. And Otis is a different set of Southerns that come from up in Criglersville. But that is the, what? Is that the, no, that's the 8-stall bond. Right there
Yeah.
where they are at. And
I believe that's Charles Smoot, right? On the right.
Charles that's Charlie Smoot there. And I think that's Charlie Smoot going under the willow tree at Big Oaks.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Leroy, does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That, ain't no doubt about that.
Okay, Otis was your next door neighbor.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. All right. That's cool. That's cool.
And of course, that picture down below there, that is back before my time.
I was gonna say, you'd have to be old as Moses to know who that is. So.
Yeah. Maybe when that was taken, it's when my granddaddy come to Montpelier, because he came to Montpelier selling chestnuts from up in Surrey and back up in the mountains, and came down to Moffat's store, which is located back behind where Montpelier Supply is now. There was a store back there, and he was unloading chestnuts, and Mr. DuPont had just gotten started with Montpelier. And he asked my granddaddy if he had any children. He says, yeah, I got 7 boys and 2 girls. And he asked granddaddy to come to work for him back then. And he did. That's when they moved out of the mountains back down here to Montpelier. And my dad, all my uncles worked at Montpelier all through the years. And of course, me and Leroy, we grew up together with a whole lot of others that left this earth now. But it was 28 tenant houses, 80 people on payroll at the end of '83. And it was probably more working here during ever since I can remember. I can remember back to when the dairy burnt down. I remember that. And I remember the first day of school. And I remember playing on the porch at the old house where I was born and raised.
Well, Dwight, we got to get the talking table at the store going again. So Steve found a reference where there was a talking bench at
That
the
was
store.
the old heating thing in the middle.
Okay, all
There
right.
used to be a marble slab on top of 2 radiators.
All right. Yeah, that's still there.
Is it?
We'll have to figure out what to do with that. That would
That's
be cool.
where everybody talked.
That's where everybody talked. Okay. Wow.
And that's where they eat it.
All right. Well, we might have to make the lab all around that. So that could be the new water coolers. So
So it's a lot of memories.
yeah. Well, thank you, Dwight. Appreciate it. So. All right, and one last announcement. I'll stop sharing screens. There is we're going to be we're making up a survey form for next year's programs, because we want to get your all's ideas on what sort of programs we should be doing, both in terms of other activities that we've done in the past that you'd like to see repeated. We want to compile these to see what sort of confluence we can get for developing the schedule and for the kind of programming that we're going to be doing. So keep an eye out on your email for this survey form. And then the lunch and learn that we're doing in September, we're going to be having as an open conversation about these programs and then finalizing the schedule. And we're going to be working with with our advisory group, with the MDC on the programs to get ideas. And formulate, what sites we're going to be working on next. We're thinking that, the sites we're interested in working on is the sites up by the horse graves, where the homes for several enslaved families were located. We want to get some input on that from the MDC and see how to formulate all this, and hopefully next season have all this happen under the roof of Calm at the old Montpelier store. So thank you all for all of the support you've given, and really it means the last 6 months we would not have been able to make it through without your all's support. And I know that right after the fire on that first lunch and learn, there was just that was so inspiring for all of us, how you all showed up and the letters that you all have sent, and just checking on us to make sure that we're safe and sound has been really, really appreciated. And makes it, like I said, it's definitely a metric of how successful we feel we've been with the community that you all have given us. So thank you all so much. And yeah, and just the sampling of stories from Leroy and Dwight, this is just the beginning, and something we're really excited about, to be able to combine the physical space of the old store with descendants who have stories to tell, and then making a whole new set of stories with you all, with the expeditions and you all using this space. So it's what that space needs is people to stay alive. Literally, that's what buildings need, is to have that, to make sure that they stay safe and sound. And Lauren, you raised your hand. Maybe that was an accident, Lauren, or you muted yourself. So, but well, thank you. We have this recorded. We'll send out the recording to everyone. But if you have any questions in the meantime, I'll send you all the story map that we did, and it also contains the testimonial from Madeline, who I see is on the call there. I'm waving to you, Madeline, and from Iris and Henry and Barbara. So, but appreciate you all, and hope you all have a good rest of your week. And we'll see you either in the fall or next year or on Zoom. So thanks, everybody.
That, Liz.
See you all
Everybody
later.
take care.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
Matt, you know what's going to be cool is having the lab up by the road. We'll have more visitors come through.
Oh,
And we can, interact with the public more so they can learn about the programs that we have.
yeah, people would walk all the way down that hill and just about want to die when they realize they had to walk back up.
They had to
Yeah.
walk
They'd be
back
like, "Do you have
up.
a vehicle you can drive us back up with?" And we'd be like, "Well, it's called locomotion. You're 2 feet." So
Just want to say to everybody, don't forget they've got a 2-for-1 match for any donations you'd like to send.
yeah, no, thank you,
Is that
Gail.
mine?
Yeah.
Yep, thank you, Vivian. Thank you all for the help you've been given. So, and thanks, Gail, for spreading the word. I know you and Tony have been busy getting your friends helping with that. So
Yeah.
All right, well, bye, everybody.
I
Bye.
shall see you all in November.
Okay, looking forward.
Bye, Pam.
Take care.